Spoilerin time. I'm Tom Merritt. You're Brian Brushwood. No, wait, you're Brian Brushwood.
Well, hold on, wait for it. Well, I'm Brian Brushwood.
There we go.
Don't tell the audience they're Brian
was.
Brushwood. That's an offense to some people. In some countries, you could get arrested for talking that way.
I apologize deeply for anyone who I may have offended by calling Brian Brushwood. But I'm offended that you're offended for being called Brian Brushwood because Brian Brushwood rocks. Anyway.
So says my daughter anyway, but go ahead.
Yes, we're going to spoil The Shield, Season 3, Episode 7, Barnstormers. We're going to spoil Fargo, Episode 6, Muradin's Ass, and a fine one it is. And then we're going to spoil Episode 2 of Transparent. And I don't have the name of that episode at the ready, but you can watch it on Amazon if you don't want to be spoiled before we talk about it.
I'm gonna make up a title for that. It's called One Down, Two to Go.
F the Beatles, F the beat. Oh, wait, no. That's a Meat Puppets song. Okay. Let's get into The Shield, Barnstormers. So Mackie and Emma are Mackie and Emma. Vic, Mackie. When you say Mackie and Emma, it just sounds like a folk music trio.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. Hey, what's going on? We're Mackie and Emma. We're really thrilled Starbucks allowed us to perform here this evening.
Can you keep it down? I'm trying to work here.
This one was written by Paul Simon. Here we go.
And Emma, she's from the Decoy Squad, try to help a woman in an abusive relationship while Mackie and the strike team are trying to steal the safe out of Acevedo's
oh, that's right. Out of his office, there's like a piece of evidence in there that they either suspect
they want the
or
list
is there
of
or
the bills that are being used because they get it from evidence and then it turns out it's the wrong list. So then they go and they're like, well, how do we steal this? So there's this whole big deal about them trying to get the safe out of his room, and then he comes back faster than they expected. And what they did was they put a similar safe in there so that if anyone looked in there, they wouldn't see the safe missing. It would just, skip over it. And their idea was, we'll get it back there before he comes back. Well, then, if I'm remembering this right, I think he comes back too early, or maybe his assistant, but I think he comes back, he tries to open it, and of course it won't open because it's not the right safe. So he asks his assistant to get a locksmith to come figure it out. Like, why isn't it opening? And Vic gets his friend to be the locksmith. And they pull off, basically a switch where the friend pretends to drill open the safe. And then he puts the stuff back in after they've made a copy of it.
So, man, I am only vaguely, it was 10 years ago when I saw this episode, but it is awesome that this is the episode that you watch because I just finished reading Andrew Main's.
I've been saying the wrong episode name, by the way. It's not Barnstormers. It's Safe, after the safe.
It's great. There's somebody who feels a lot better after that correction out there. But it's amazing that this is the episode that you watch because I just finished listening to Andrew Main's Angel Killer, which deals a lot with magical and illusion methods and techniques. And one of the awesome things about it is that it does a very good job of explaining the way magicians see the world in an accurate and not cartoony, dumb way. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is the kind of practical application of what are standard magical techniques showing up in a corruption-filled narrative in a fictionalized Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, they're trying to make the safe disappear, essentially, without anyone noticing, right?
Right,
It's
which
all
means
about
you
misdirection.
have to do a substitution. They need to never suspect that it was gone to begin with. There needs to be a reveal. There needs to be time delay for X, Y, and Z, and so on. This is, by the way, if you like this kind of story, Angel Killer, so good. Have you read it yet, Tom?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Andrew Main is a dear friend of mine, one of my best friends. Certainly, maybe my single best friend in magic. One of my best friends of all time. Ashamedly, he started writing all these books, and because I don't ever sit down and I never read a book like traditional style, never got around to reading any of his books. Finally, this one hits mass market paperback, and it shows up on Audible. and I am ashamed to admit that I have discovered my new favorite author, and it's one of my best friends. You know what I mean? It's so bizarre to me. It's Angel Killer is so good. Bonnie's listening to it downstairs right now, in fact.
Anyway, that's awesome. Now I feel even guiltier that I haven't read Andrew Mayne, but I feel better that you went for so long, knowing him longer than me, without reading him. So I'll get there. At the same time, I also feel stupid for reading the description for season 2, episode 7. There's no Emma. There's no Mackie and Emma in Safe. This is the strike team doing the safe thing that I described from memory, which is right. And then there's also the Narcorrido song. The songs that tell true stories about crime that they start to mine to solve cases.
Oh, because they assume that people are using real cases or real experiences of committing crime as inspiration.
They're not assumed. They're like, yeah, that's what happens with these songs. Like, these songs are commissioned by people to show off their prowess in the crime world, and the Narcorridos record them. And the Narcorrido is like, I'm a journalist, you know. I make sure these things are true before I sing them.
Do you think that happens in real life? I would assume.
Yeah, I think they're probably a little more careful about it than they were in this episode of The Shield.
Well, no. I mean, less about the narrating actual crimes. I'm sure that part happens. But do you think actual cops, base their investigations on pop lyrics? Is what I'm saying.
I mean, it doesn't matter, because what I'm guessing doesn't happen is a song says, and the body's buried under the freeway right at the corner of Sepulveda and Pico. So go look there for the bodies. Like, and that's the plot point here. By the way,
I just all I want now is an album of you, like a folk album of the murders you've committed.
Right? And that's what happens at the beginning of this one. They're like, well, we should go check. And then they find 8 bodies, and it turns out, well, those bodies aren't the same bodies in the song. What's up with that? And so maybe that was a little misdirection. Maybe the journalist singer was picking a different spot, but it turned out to be the right spot for these meth addicts that were killed. The whole procedural, though, is this interlocking story about the person who commissioned it and him giving evidence and not wanting to give evidence, and then cracking a bunch of cases because they happen to be referenced in the CD.
That's awesome. Well, good. I'm glad. That's a good episode. I'm glad that you continue to plot forward. Can we please?
You know what? And for an episode that doesn't really move the plot forward, I mean, we get to see a little more of Aceveda looking nervous, and we get the Money Train guys doing a thing for the Money Train, but it doesn't really move the Money Train plot forward. It's just them trying to get a hold of the bills, right, or the list.
And I'm sure this isn't a big surprise to you, but the Money Train, the fact that they pulled off the Money Train heist simmers a while, right? So
I can tell,
you
right?
expect it to be in the background.
Mackie has said so. He's like, we're going to simmer this for a while, guys. He says that to the folks in the show. So I sometimes watch these connective tissue episodes and I feel like, there wasn't a whole lot going on. This one was connective tissue. It was 2 great stories. You had a heist story, and you had like an interlocking mystery. It was a really good episode. Really well done.
Right on. All right, so where do you want to go? You want to go Transparent or you want to go Fargo?
Well, let's go Fargo.
All right.
Buridan's ass, where Malvo knocks out Chumph and Dux takes him to an exercise bench. Chumph being the guy from Always Sunny.
Right. Glenn Howard.
Yes, I think that's right.
Glenn Howerton. Yeah, Glenn Howerton.
What a horrible, like, how convoluted is that? But it's also purely practical. Like, he needed them not to think anything else was going on, but someone is just shooting out of the house, which they're going to think right up to the end. Then they're going to notice he's duct taped. Like,
right?
Chumph is going to get killed, and Chumph knows it. And it's a horrible torture story to be like, I can't move, but I'm pointing this gun, and as soon as they come in, they're going to see me pointing, and they're just going to shoot me, and there's nothing I can do about it. And he tries to yell, you know it's coming. It's such a brilliant sequence.
Well, okay. This is one of those moments where it's like, I suspect that it will be made right later, but at the moment, I don't understand the reasoning of Malvo. I don't understand, like, what does he gain by this? He kills off this guy in this kind of convoluted Seven-esque plot, but the second, as you mentioned, the second they kill him, they're going to see, oh, wait, we definitely killed an innocent man who was covered in duct tape. If anything, he just brings more heat on what he's up to, right?
Did they, or does he delay them with confusion? In other words, it's the same. It's the gun. It's the right gun, and he's got it in his hand. And I guess he could have gotten someone to duct tape him or duct tape himself. Like all of a sudden, they're still thinking, well, this is the guy who shot.
All right, if that's
like,
actually...
you don't leap to the conclusion like, well, obviously somebody came in and duct taped this man to this chair. Like that seems just as implausible if you're coming from the outside.
If that's actually the end, if that's actually the conclusion that they come to, then that's dumb, and I'm no longer interested in the story. You're
well,
like,
no,
oh,
saying,
I think he duct taped
coming
himself.
In from outside, I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's now misdirected me. Right. My thoughts are scattered all over the place, rather than if he just shoots Chump and takes off, they come and they find Chump and they're like, okay, we have to find the killer. Right. They have a direction to go after.
So things that I noticed in this episode, and by the way, we're doing a great job of skirting around the big finale.
Well, I was just wait. I was like, let's do the Chump thing, and then we'll talk about the white.
Yeah. So this is the uncanny valley between a television show that has a certain kind of budget and a movie that has a certain kind of budget. I don't normally notice these kind of things. Normally, I get caught up in the story, and I feel exactly what they're telling. This was a case where my dumb, normally ignorant brain really noticed the budgetary constrictions of it being a television show and not a movie.
In what way?
Like somebody's walking and they need to show that there's a blizzard happening, so it's hard to see them. So there's like I'm almost crude fade to white transition that keeps getting toggled in and out. It doesn't look at all like they're actually in a freaking snowstorm. But, they certainly are obscuring my view as they go back and forth.
Didn't bother me one little bit. Didn't even think about it.
That's great. That's great. I wish I was you. I wish I was you.
If somebody says, actually, that was all shot with real snow, and that's just what it looks like when it goes totally white. I'm not saying that is.
I suspect not. Also the credulity or credulity. Credulity.
I'm going to say credulity, Victor.
Credulity is credulity that happens on time every time at regular intervals. It's credulity.
It's regular credulity. I see. Yeah.
It's regular credulity. It's credulity. Again, maybe they will explain to me the whole Malvo 7-esque duct taping a man, giving him and I like what you pointed out, like that happens to be the weapon that killed the wife or whatever. Unresolved. Filing that away is like, all right, we'll just see where that goes. However, I will say, loved the fact that what's Watson's name in this?
Grimley?
No. Wait, Grimley. What?
Who's Watson?
The main character. I'm talking about
Nygaard?
Yeah, Nygaard. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, Watson from Sherlock.
Watson from Sherlock. He'll always be Watson from Sherlock or the Hobbit, whatever.
Yeah, he's the Hobbit.
Yeah.
Right.
I still haven't seen the Hobbit movies. Nygaard owning the fact that he is on the run and all that stuff, like seeing him completely change his thinking and go to the short term. Like, I am now objectively, unquestionably lying. I am now definitely manipulating evidence. I am now definitely planning my escape or whatever.
I'm not just going to take getting punched by a high school bully that's, now 20 years older. I am not going to take being made to feel smaller than my brother, and I will get my vengeance against him.
Yes. There's something about, like, this was the episode. This is the first episode where I felt like he owned it. Like, everything else felt like he stumbled into a situation. This is the first episode where I'm like, oh no, he absolutely acknowledges where he is. He now recognizes and identifies with being this guy now. It was fascinating. I loved all of it. And the body switching, the substitution, getting around, stealing stuff, sneaking
Malvo
out.
has converted him.
Kind of. I guess
Malvo's
so.
original thing was like, why do you put up with that? You should stand up for yourself. And it was a tutorial. Like,
Tom,
here's what you do.
You do a scary good Malvo. Can you real quick? Hey man, I was thinking about starting an independent podcast, but who knows? I'm just a guy from Texas.
I don't know if I can do it again.
Again? He was already Malvo once.
But no, I mean, I'm saying like he shot the chief and got Lester in this predicament purportedly to teach Lester to have a backbone, right?
Yeah.
He's a psychopath, right? So to him, it's like, yeah, so some people had to die, but I just wanted you to learn this lesson, and I hope you've learned it now.
It's so weird, like that furrowed brow, genuine confusion about the rest of the world, like why are you not as pragmatic and I swear, put the camera just on Tom. I want to see Tom as Malvo at all times. I just want to take you out to a bar and just buy you drink after
Ryan.
drink as you ask me.
You're gonna put the microphone down. You're gonna go back to your 3 daughters.
I swear. Tom Merritt does a really good Malvo. Okay, so the point is there's so many subjects I really want to diverge into that we can't. At any rate, yes, all the Malvo stuff is amazing. Nygaard owning his stuff is great. I fell deeply into the uber-friendly relationship between Solverson, terrible name, and Tom Hanks's kid.
Grimley,
Is it Grimley? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Ed.
And my ex. That's Gimli. But the at any rate, really fell into that. You have seen more episodes than I have, but this
Sure.
episode ends with a scuffle and Grimley pulling his weapon and firing, and you hear a body fall down, and he goes up, and it's Solverson. He shot his girl.
He just
right?
shot Solverson. Yep. And here's the thing. Here's what I love about this before I get to that point.
Sure.
We also, the only plot point we haven't talked about is Milos returning to where he found the cache.
Oh shoot! Yeah, no, I love the way they represented that with flashbacks in reverse. Like it was enough to kind of throw you off kilter, but also it supported the narrative that there's a balance, and he feels the need to go back to
Right.
pay a debt that he owes.
And he thinks, I'm right with God now.
Yeah.
I've put the money back. I've protected my son. He's with the bodyguard. And then as he's driving away, after having given the money back, he sees the wreck that we've already seen earlier, where the birds just froze and fell out of the sky like a plague, like a curse from God, and caused a wreck. And we didn't know what was going to happen to that wreck until Milos shows up and finds the bodyguard and the son dead. And here's the thing. That's wrapped up a story. That is what we thought was in fact the story. Like whether Lester would get caught, and then, the real reason Malvo is here is for Milos, were the two stories, right? Now suddenly both of them seem done. Lester just planted some evidence and lied his way fairly safe. Solverson, who's the only one on his butt right now, who really knows that he did it,
appears
just
to be
got
dead.
shot.
Yeah.
And now Milos, he's like gotten rid of the money and his son is dead. Where does this story go from here? And yes, I have watched a couple more episodes, but this is where my mind is at the end of this episode. Like you've successfully turned all the tables on me, and I have no idea what's happening next, and I can't wait to find out.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say, and this is, I guess it's spoilering in that I'm projecting my thoughts into the future. I strongly suspect she does not die because, number one, just like in Lord of the Rings, when Gandalf died, there was not sufficient preamble. It did not make it a big enough of a punch moment. It was a surprise or whatever, and it was also on a cliffhanger. Also, number two, if she is truly dead, then I'm kind of out because she was my favorite character in the show. Like, she was adorable and real and all those things. Man, some attractive Midwestern girls working at that grocery store in this episode. I don't know what it was about the adorable...
You're a married man, Brian.
What? I mean, attractive, like I hope my daughters grow into those kind of girls.
I did not think of that.
I don't know. They're pretty, very symmetrical faces. They were adorable.
Which department?
Who is it that was doing the investigation there? And she's all like,
The
"Wait,
produce
is this
department?
about the locusts?" I don't. It doesn't matter.
You just like a woman in uniform.
I just booked a ticket to the Midwest. I'm going to go to the Midwest. I'm leaving my family.
You're just going to go to Phoenix
so
Farms.
long, daughters. There we go. Yeah.
In Bemidji.
Bemidji.
Yeah. So at the end of this episode, here's where my thoughts are. I can go to IMDb and look and find out if someone's in the cast for the next episode or not, right?
Right.
And have a fair idea what's going on, but I didn't. And I didn't watch the next episode that day. I was like, I spent several days, which is why I can remember it so well, in the same space you are, which is like, I assume she's dead from that. But God, I hope I'm wrong. But I just don't see how she's not.
I mean, well, it's simple enough, right? Like if you get shot, you fall over, and that's really all they showed. And plenty of people get shot on TV and live, and plenty of people get shot on TV or in real life and live. You know, so it's like it's not. It seems to me like
it's
that
the way
is
they frame the shot when she falls. That's like, oh, that was like the finale.
I mean, it certainly feels like we're meant to think it's a finale, but it's like, yeah, I don't know, the conceits of television and so on. It's like it just didn't resonate with me.
Whether she's alive or not, I didn't care. What I loved was that I didn't know for sure. That I was like, I don't really know what's going to happen in the next episode. Like I feel like I'm not lost in a bad way, but like I, usually could say like, oh, well, this is probably going to happen, and then this is going to happen. Those cards are not lined up. The dominoes are not arranged.
Man, is there any way you could tell me all of this in the character of Malvo? I just need you to study his, just real quick. Like, tell me why I should watch.
You're not listening to anything I'm saying. You're just like. He almost sounds like Malvo. If you just tweak it a
real
little.
Quick, I understand there's a show that I should watch and maybe buy for $2 an episode on Amazon. Is there a reason I shouldn't do it? I don't know. There's this show called Fargo. Why wouldn't I watch it, right?
I don't know. If you still feel raw about things when you heal up, come see me.
Oh my God. Too good. All right, we should move on. We should move on to Transparent.
Because I don't do a good Jeffrey Tambor. And I don't think that...
this is where you put on a wig, right?
Transparent episode 2. We're picking up from the it's sort of a cliffhanger ending where his oldest daughter is making out with her ex-lesbian friend. Right, were they girlfriends in the past, or just friends in the past?
There was. It depends on whose story you listened to. The oldest daughter, and again, this is how we started off with Leftovers. Was we didn't know anyone characters' names, and by the end of the series, they were all real people to us. So at this point, the characters' names are Jeffrey Tambor, oldest daughter, middle kid, and youngest daughter. Jeffrey Tambor.
The point is, like, the daughter is making out with the lesbian while she's still married to the guy, and her father walks in dressed as a woman, and we're like, it's on now. She knows, right?
Yeah.
And so the question going into episode 2 I had was, well, does this mean that now everybody knows? And no, it doesn't. He hasn't told the other children, and apparently his daughter has agreed not to tell them either.
Well, yes. I mean, I guess you assume they had that discussion or whatever, but there's this great Jeffrey Tambor is utterly astonishing in this role, right? Like him.
Absolutely.
Him talking at the support group at the LGBT center is utterly riveting, and the pettiness of all of these his children, There are real aspects that no matter how petty you are would be complicated and difficult to process. You see that in his oldest daughter, and you see her also, like, she's also at some kind of breaking point with her husband, which is the whole reason that she's trying to hook up with her old flame anyway. But at the same time, she's frustrated and wound tight over her dad's situation. We get a little bit more out of the children. The youngest daughter obviously has moved into a sexual relationship with her physical trainer, which, from what I hear, happens a lot. Did you know that, Tom? Did you know that people hire physical trainers and end up having sex with them?
I know they hire physical trainers, but I didn't realize that was like a more common than not thing.
Well, I'm not gonna say that more common than not, but it's I would say if certainly it's more common or not. If you talk to physical trainers, like how many of your clients did you end up having sex with? I would say more than 50% would be all like, well, this one or whatever. Like the answer is somebody. Welcome to Facts I Made Up with Brian Brushwood. And so, but at any rate, continues to be super good. Continue to be entranced. I liked, to me, the heartbreakingest part. And from whatever I've read of people who are transitioning, that part where Jeffrey Tambor goes to make a friend and says, well, how many of your family stuck around or whatever? And they're like, none. This is what happens. You transition and you lose everyone and you start again from scratch. And it's utterly heartbreaking. Honestly,
the thing I remember most from this episode is Tambor making friends with that woman, and her taking him back to the apartment complex, and that whole series. And I know there's a compelling storyline with the trainer. There's a very compelling storyline with the son and his
chick going to get an abortion, and he's trying to talk her into keeping.
You know, whether she should get an abortion or not, and then he changes his mind. But the Jeffrey Tambor storyline is so above and beyond all of those. And I think it's supposed to be. I think you're supposed to look at this and think, we're turning it on its head, right? Usually it's like, these kinds of storylines are what makes drama on TV, and the Tambor storyline would be kind of a sideline, maybe even treated with a little humor, right? And it's like, no, his storyline is the big storyline.
The story. Everything else is the selfish,
and he is the person
nonsense.
Who's dealing with things well now, and they are not.
It's an astonishingly good show.
Yeah, good job, Jill Soloway.
It's here's what I like about it too, is it is also if I was at a bookstore and all the shows that we currently watch were on there, this is the last one I would think to pull off the shelf. And I'm so proud that Amazon would take such a bold, daring maneuver and take such a I don't know if fringy is the right word, or relatively unpopular.
Honestly, I think it's more just like letting a talented writer have their way, have their head, and trusting them with it. And it to me, I don't think it's a calculated thing of like, well, pick this topic because transgender is
coming up. Yes, exactly. That's what it is. It doesn't feel like anyone in marketing had anything to do with the creation of the show.
Jill Soloway does really good stuff.
Yeah.
Let her make a thing.
As a matter of fact, there is, I think one of my favorite parts, and we talked about this from the first episode, is this whole series is dripping with the artifacts of reality, those awkward side beats, those yes. and interruptions, and the are you going to finish that, and all of these little things that feel so real, to where and I don't remember exactly what it was that was said, but in the middle of the biggest revelation of Jeffrey Tambor's life, where he admits to his daughter that it's, no, I'm not playing dress up, I'm a woman. There's some kind of side beat of like you're standing on the that kind of thing that happens in reality. It was
well, and the reactions of her, suddenly lover, or at least make out her, and her as the daughter are so well differentiated, right? Like her friend who's a lesbian is like, good for you. I don't really want to be involved, but nice job. And the daughter is like, what? Like, world blown away. And I really enjoyed that, because I'm like, yeah, those are honest reactions that you would see, not the like on paper reactions. And the same with the end of the support group, right? Usually it's like, oh, it's a support group and they're all supportive, and maybe there's someone who's angry and then eventually gets supported, right?
Right.
But this thing of like support group, very supportive, end of the support group. Hey, you do anything? Yeah, I'm busy. Yeah, I'm busy.
What about you?
Yeah, sorry. Not in a mean way.
What's funny is I experienced that. Like, we talked in the pre-show. I mean, not that I'm transgendered and I had a breakthrough or whatever. But
right.
In the pre-show, I mentioned how excited I am to be back home. I am essentially ending a 6-month arc of the most stressful, busy, hardworking time on the road that I've ever had. And on the ride back last night, 2 nights ago, I found myself like, oh, crap, I get to go home and I get to be done for a while. I'm going to get to ride my bike. I'm going to get back online. I'm going to get to play live stream some games and get back to my regular rhythm. And I went to the back of the plane, and it was clear that there was another dude who's a singer-songwriter. Because he had a guitar and he was going back to Austin, I found myself like in this almost like dating, like desperate bid to like, I just want to talk to someone. This is another touring artist that is coming home. I was like, hey man, so it felt awkward. It felt weird. I ended up buying him drinks. It was this flood of I'm going home and I want to talk to another artist who's having the same experience with me. And that scene with Jeffrey Tambor, just like, hey man, I had a breakthrough. I told one of my kids, can we just go somewhere? Can we party? Can we do something or whatever? Like, that really struck a chord with me.
Yeah. And then he not only ends up doing something better, right? She's like, I just come back to my place. And so he gets introduced to this apartment complex, which obviously is going to become where he moves, right?
Yes, correct.
Because we know he's getting rid of the house. It's pretty obvious. And then, of course, there's the guy who died. And again, another one of those very real moments, like, very sad. Guy died, knew he was sick. We're all very sad. Hey, his apartment's open. They're really hard to get.
Well, and I guess that's, again, that is the beautiful poetry of it. Also, I noticed something. We talked about the opening credit sequence for this show, which I think is extraordinarily well thought out because it does two things. First of all, it acknowledges, you'll notice that the font is characteristically 1970s, the font they use. However, all of the footage is early 1990s, late 1980s, sexually ambiguous tweeners and teenagers doing things as they discover who it is they're meant to be. I believe all of that was meant in a very artistically and well-constructed way to resonate with people our age, you know, and that we remember we remember being at that undefined area as we all tried to discover who it is we were meant to be. It's a really good credit sequence, really good packaging is all I'm trying to say.
I feel bad that I don't pay any attention to it.
I do. It's really good, real good.
I tried to when I watched episode 2. It's like, no, it still didn't do anything for me.
Really?
Just
No,
I
don't know. There's something outside of you, Malvo, I would have said that there's something in that title sequence that resonates with everyone, like the awkward dancing at what I imagine is his aunt's
I'm with you.
wedding or whatever, you know.
Here, my problem is, and it's my problem. I'm not saying you're wrong. In fact, I wish I had that impact from it. It just feels like credit sequences I've seen before.
By the way,
we'll show some old home movies, and there's obviously the two girls with the boy, and those are the main characters of the show, right? It's not bad. I just don't get the pump out of it.
There's an etiquette issue we need to resolve. Sign in the chat, longtime fan of and supporter, points out that we keep calling Jeffrey Tambor he.
You know what? And that's partly, absolutely. You're right. Sign. That character is she.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Tambor is he.
Yeah, no, he's
as
far as we know, he is a straight, you know, married.
He presents himself as he.
Yeah, exactly. But you're right.
But
I mean,
right. That character is she, and we should learn her name and call her. It's Mara, right?
Mara, Mona. I guess Mora. I thought Mora.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's what seems right. Man.
Mora,
what a great show.
Honestly, I was tearing up at the end of this episode at the real community being offered to Mora when she shows up at that apartment complex and is welcomed in, and they're saying, yeah, we check in on each other. No, he wouldn't mind if you came into his apartment and walked around. We all looked around at each other. You know, this is how we pulled together, especially when they just also had that conversation of like, yeah, your family's not going to be around. And you know, like, you may not want your family around. We've seen your 3 kids and your ex-wife and what they're like, and you're probably around nicer people in this complex from what we can tell.
Yeah, it's a really good show. I'm astonished and thrilled at how much it touches me, and I think it's a bold move, and I find myself weirdly proud that that I live in a world where this show exists. I don't know why. Maybe that's self-aggrandizing or whatever.
Yeah,
screw you.
I feel glad that this was made, for sure. I feel like this is a really, I don't want to say important because that's too pretentious.
I know.
It's not important,
There's no way to express the feeling about it without
but it feels like
sounding.
I'm really glad this exists.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what's funny is that I don't so much care that this exists. I absolutely adore that we live in a world where this can exist. And I'm not talking about the current cultural perceptions of being transgender. I guess, and this is, to tie it all back together, I guess this is the kind of decision to make this kind of show, which I think is such a good show. I think that is one of the happy side effects of the cord cutting revolution, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
It's complete diversity. It is a world where you could take bigger risks and have them pay off better. And number one, I'm proud and glad that that Amazon takes this risk, and I'm double thrilled artistically that it pays off. And if down the road it financially pays off, that's great too. It's I don't know. It's fascinating to watch this.
And it's not about transgender, because lots of movies and TV shows have been made about transgender. It's the way it's being told that I think is so good.
Yes.
I also think, like you, we on Frame Rate for years, we were like, guys, if you don't stop locking down your content, these services can just go make their own and deliver it to us directly. And then we don't need you and your cable system anymore. And that's what Netflix started doing. And now Amazon has started doing it. And I think this is showing, guess what? When they do it, when they were forced into doing it, they make really good stuff. And that was questionable before Netflix did House of Cards. Then it was questionable, but can anybody besides Netflix do it? Can Netflix do it again?
Right.
Oh, wait, Orange is the New Black. Oh, wait, Amazon's doing Alpha House and betas. Maybe it's not something everybody can do. Well, now they have Transparent. And Hulu has good original shows, but they haven't had a great original show. Questionable whether they can or not. We'll see.
Dude, absolutely. By the way, I'm responding to someone in the chat who said something good, and it's loving this experience. I guess we'll stick to one episode a week, or do you want to dive in? And I obviously need to get.
It'll be
caught up
hard,
on Fargo.
between now and Monday with my travel schedule. It'll be hard for me to do more than one.
Okay.
But I'll let you know if I can.
Okay.
And then
all right. So if I am going to do multiple, I'll try to get caught up with you on Fargo. It sounds like you're in the home stretch on that.
Yeah, I think we could probably finish Fargo. If you can catch up, I can watch one more Fargo by next week.
Okay, right on. I'll try to do that, and we'll hold off on Transparent. Man, what a great world. What a great world where Fargo and Transparent are not just the shows of convenience that we want to do, but are shows that are mostly being watched online, if not exclusively built to be online.
Yeah, I'm watching Fargo on my Apple TV because I just purchased the whole season, and I'm watching Transparent on my Xbox.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yep. And I'm watching The Shield on my iPad, usually on Sunday mornings.
I'll tell you what, by the way, I have no hesitation. We talked about going through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I have no hesitation of paying $3 per episode for an HD rental or whatever. All I could think of every time I buy one of these for my daughter or rent one of these for my daughter is how many hundreds of dollars I'm saving by not having cable. Once you open that up, it's like, yeah, whatever, $3, go for it, kid.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
All right, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for being patrons, and we'll see you next time.
Love you.